It is everyone's favorite ranking system, today's top 5. You can get what today's top 5 is. It is where we rank different players, teams, landing spots, whatever the case may be. 5 sports things in the correct sports context. Today's top 5 is going to be the top 5 contenders in the NBA, both East and the West. Joe, your first experience with everyone's favorite ranking system. I can imagine you are just ecstatic and waiting to get to this ranking.
It's already my favorite. You already convinced me.
It's everybody's favorite.
It's in the name. It's in the name. How can I go against it?
All right, let's get to today's top 5. So here we have today's top 5, starting at the bottom and working our way up. Number 5, Cleveland and Oklahoma City. I don't like when I combine teams or players in one spot, but I sat here for like 10 minutes debating with myself on who I wanted to put here because I have the same feelings about both of these teams. Now, these are obviously the 2 number 1 seeds in the East. It seems insane to have them at the 5 spot, but I don't think anyone legitimately believes that these teams can go all the way. Now, I think Cleveland has a slightly better chance than OKC just because of how the conferences are set up right now with who could be contenders. But I would pick obviously more teams to make the finals before either of these 2 number 1 seeds from either conference. So I just don't think they got the horses, don't got the talent. They sit at the number 5 spot.
So I do have a question. Between Cleveland and OKC, which of those 2 teams do you think is a better team?
Who? Like, is it like who would I pick to win between the 2, or who do I think has a better chance?
Between the two, not in their conferences, but just in the NBA in general. Because I'll give my opinion while you think about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I look at Cleveland, I just keep on thinking about that one Atlanta Hawks team. You know that team. It was like 10, had to be like
team?
10. Yes, it was like 10 or something, 10 or 12 years. I forget. It's a long time ago now. We're old.
Yeah.
But yeah, they won like 50 games the one year. I think I don't know if this was a fever dream, but I think Kyle Korver was an all-star.
I think they won 60 games, to be honest with you.
60. Yeah. Well, they had 4 all-stars. They had Paul Millsap, Jeff Teague, Kyle Korver. Was it 4 all-stars that the Atlanta Hawks had?
Al Horford.
Al Horford. Yeah, Al Horford. Yeah, all 4 of them. And it's like really interesting because some of these teams do great in the regular season. They come out very focused as a unit, but like, yeah, this team's not really about that. We know a lot of teams mail it in for the regular season, or at least they operate at like 80 or 90%. So if a team comes out and they're super organized, their coach gets them motivated, and they're really ready for the season, they can have a great regular season record. But then, as you saw with the Hawks, you saw them kind of fall apart in the playoffs. Part of it was probably, the Eastern Conference at the time and what teams they had to play.
They got swept by LeBron.
They haven't had the experience deeper in the playoffs. I could say OKC has not as well had enough experience. I just trust Shai as a leader, as the top player more. So I'd probably put more faith in OKC as a team to pick up the West if it got fractured somehow, if anyone got hurt, or if like a random team was able to win, like such as the Warriors. I think OKC would match up pretty nicely. But I actually do agree with both of these rankings. They're like the overblown stocks right now that are way too high. They're going to crash down once the playoffs come. But I do think OKC has more upside, I think.
Number 4 on our list, the LA Lakers. Now, I have been a very vocal advocate for the LA Lakers making the finals since they've added Luka Doncic. Obviously, just coming off the finals run last year with the Mavs and now going on to, in my opinion, a better team in LA. I am never, ever counting out LeBron James in the playoffs, regardless of how old he is. He can be 92 out there, and I'd be like, hey, they got a shot. So, and I think, again, the only team there, before I even say it, there are only a few teams I truly fear against LA. I think that with LeBron and Luka's ultimate IQ and their ultimate test, Luka wants to prove himself of being the, next guy. LeBron clearly trying to build on his already, GOAT resume. So there is a lot of, like, you're trying to do it quick. Like there's what's the word I'm trying to think of? Not anticipation. It's but they already had that mentality of we got to do this now. This is our time to do it. And like I said, I don't fear a lot of teams in the West over LA. I think, again, seeding can have the perfect path. LA at number 4.
Yeah, I agree, and I actually think I put LA higher.
I almost did.
You know, yeah, because when I look at their lineup, Austin Reeves is playing like a borderline all-star.
Yep.
If he keeps on improving at this rate, he will be. And I think that is the JJ Redick effect and the room he has on the court, the room he has to operate. I've seen Austin Reeves do some blasphemous things in the past few weeks. Some of the moves and cuts he's been able to make, just some of the crossovers and the way he's been so confident in handling the ball when LeBron and Luca are on the bench or when one of them are out. They're in a situation where Luca and LeBron don't need to operate at full capacity each game. If they don't,
Yeah.
you have Austin Reeves to pick up on that. And I think
Fair.
Redick has a lot of Eric Spoelstra traits as a young coach in the way that he schemes and how aggressive he is. And that's why the Lakers defense got better, because in the same way that Spoelstra did it, going between I don't know if the Lakers are doing like the zone hybrid, the zone man hybrid defense, whatever that's called. But the way he's able to disrupt the other team on offense by moving his players around, I think Redick is also elevating them.
Number 3, the Boston Celtics. Now, we just went on this whole little rampage a few moments ago about how Boston is not, or how Tatum, isn't all the way there or legitimate and whatnot. But similar, I guess, in the other way of OKC and Cleveland, I think just by the way the East is set up, and it was somewhat disrespectful, it felt like, to put Boston outside the top 3, or feel like that just because Tatum, that we had this topic earlier, that because he wasn't there yet, that was a reason that they weren't a legit contender. I mean, Boston is still playing really well this season. They have not missed a beat from last year. Now, is the path going to be as easy as last year? I don't think so. But Boston has not changed their approach at all. And it's not like the East has all of a sudden gotten super, super, difficult, especially now with Jimmy being gone. And now the only kind of threat, in my opinion, is Giannis in the playoffs at this point. Like I said, the reigning champs, hard to not say they could go back because of how the East is laid out right now. I'm picking them over Cleveland. I'm picking them over New York. Like, I just think because of how clear that path is, they have to be inside the top 3.
Yeah, I guess with the Celtics, I feel like the same situation is happening as when the Warriors beat the Cavaliers with only LeBron and Matthew Dellavedova,
Yeah.
where they just had a cakewalk finals where Jason Tatum was literally asleep at the wheel, shooting like I don't know 10 for 25 every game, just really bad efficiency. Really bad performances overall. If it was a close series against a reasonable team, it would have been considered a choke job. He had wide open shots. You can argue as well that the Mamba mentality would. Oh yeah, I forgot about that with Tatum putting
Oh,
the
the
Kobe
Kobe
text up.
stuff? Yeah.
That also is amazing for Tatum. But as far as the Celtics go, yeah, I agree they need to be in top 3. I like that they're not in top 2. I definitely like that they're not in top 2. I'd probably switch Lakers and Celtics because I don't think Celtics are tested at all. I feel like they've had one of the weakest performances. I know their team's amazing, but I don't think they're that well coached. I don't think their performance is that amazing considering the roster they have. I think they're picked up by having that natural dispersed talent across the entire team.
Yeah, and like, gun to my head, if Boston LA is in the finals, I'm picking LA. But like I said, because of the question of who can be a top contender, I just think because of, like I said, how it's laid out, Boston has a better chance of contending than the Lakers do because of how seeding and stuff could fall. But I definitely legitimately considered putting the Lakers and Boston at 3 and 4 split. So I'm not mad at that at all. Number 2 on our list, the Milwaukee Bucks. We just got into this last show with Giannis and how I feel he can do in these playoffs. We had mentioned earlier how I feel that Giannis is the only legitimate playoff threat in the East to Tatum. And I just think, and I mentioned this last episode, Joe, that I think Milwaukee, with winning the NBA Cup this season, with having a weird, didn't feel like a good season last year. Dame seems more embodied into Milwaukee and more part of the program. I think Giannis is going to feel pressure that it's been a long time since he has made any playoff noise. And I mean, Milwaukee has been a thorn in Boston's side in the Tatum era. I mean, like I said, I think Giannis is the best playoff performer left in the Eastern Conference. I would pick Milwaukee to win that series against Boston, despite, their difference in seeding. And I just think Milwaukee is going to come out with something to prove, and they can legit go back to the finals.
Yeah, I think the Celtics are going to be avoiding the Bucks. If the Bucks are staying around that 5 or 6 spot, then I think the Celtics are gonna try to make sure they don't face the Bucks first round, because I do agree. I think it's just any team that's solid with these great players, the Celtics have not done good against.
Mhm.
But I do want to see the Bucks at full power with Dame actually being confident. And I'm definitely a Celtics hater. I do agree. See, I see what you mean now when you said you could have put the Lakers at 2, because I could even see an argument for putting Celtics at 4 and Bucks
Yeah,
at 3 and then
yeah.
Lakers at 2 if it wasn't for the Western Conference. But yeah, yeah, definitely.
Filling out number 1 in today's top 5, the Denver Nuggets. Now, look, I may have been labeled quite fairly a Jokic hater. I don't think that's fair to me, because I was just waiting for Jokic to prove to me that he deserves the hype and recognition he was getting. I think these last 2 years is the first time you can say without question that Jokic is the best player in the league. I think for a long time, when he was even winning MVPs, it was debatable and even borderline just incorrect. But Denver, I mean, Jokic is playing out of his mind right now. Jamal Murray has come around, which he always does towards this time of the year. Russell Westbrook has been an invaluable addition to that team. He's actually, I didn't think he'd do bad there, but I didn't think he would be as comfortable and be playing as well as he is now with this Denver team. And the Denver has the Lakers number for sure. And I feel even weird saying it, but I think the Lakers are the only legitimate threat to knock out Denver in the Western Conference. So again, just like we've been saying, with the way that both conferences are set up and how good Denver has been playing, I think it's, a no-brainer that they should be the number 1 contenders right now.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think the NBA in general is in a really weird place, so it makes sense. We have different teams in, 6th seed, 5th seed, 4th seed, whatever, first. That we're saying the first seeds have the lowest chance as far as the top 5 goes, and we're saying the 6th seeds has like a second
Yeah, I guess.
chance. So like we are, and that's been a common trend in the NBA, that the regular season doesn't matter and the All-Star games don't matter. And we really need to look at the intangibles now, because the stats don't matter now either, because I don't think they've really mapped onto the playoffs very correctly for the past, like, as far as I can remember, since the last LeBron versus Curry matchup. I'm pretty sure the playoffs have been pretty weird, as far as like which seeding was able to be successful in regular season and then also in the postseason. I would say the Nuggets, they have struggled, but like you said, coming around in the second half of the season is what really matters. I do like they have Westbrook. They have these spark plugs, these guys they're going to get going, that they're going to be tough. They're going to be gritty in the playoffs, and then they have enough finesse guys on the outside. My biggest question always is, as long as they can be gritty and hit the 3 ball when they need to, then I think they have a really high chance to see the finals. And I think we're seeing like 2 matchups here that'd be really favorable for as far as what we want to see in the finals. So like a Lakers Celtics matchup would be amazing.
Yeah.
A Nuggets Bucks matchup would be like the basketball fans matchup. And then if you have a mix between like the Nuggets and Celtics, or like the Bucks and Lakers, it'll be a little bit weird. So just from a fan perspective, not really looking at it from like a commentary's perspective, I really do want to see one of those 2 matchups, Boston and Lakers or Denver and Milwaukee. If we can possibly see that, that'd be awesome.
I do think from a actually watching the game standpoint, Cleveland and OKC would be not the best, but it'd be interesting to see like the 2 premier youth teams in both conferences. Like we had started this with like, who do you think is a little bit better? So it'd be cool to see those 2 teams in the pinnacle of who's the better team.
I do hope to see LeBron in the NBA Finals. Okay, I do hope to see
Mm,
LeBron in the NBA Finals. I don't want the Celtics to win, mainly because I think they would go to the White House meeting. I don't think the Bucks would. I do think the Nuggets might.
yeah,
So
I
I'm
get
also
behind
going.
that.
I'm also going after that. I know the Lakers are not gonna do that. But I think the Celtics might. But yeah, that's one reason I want the Celtics to win.
I'd also
Or
just like
no,
to
Lakers. I mean,
say,
Lakers.
you saying that you want to see LeBron in the finals is saying a lot for someone who has not been anti-LeBron, but has been arguing specifically with me, against LeBron for several years now. It's refreshing to hear you say that.
I'm having my Jordan moment. I was thinking about this earlier today, where I feel like you had to have time set in before you know like the great times have passed, and you can really analyze them if they're like a classic album. You don't know if the
Yeah.
album's classic until you look back 10 years in the past and think, wow, this is a great project. The same with Jordan. The moments are still iconic and everything. But right now I am getting into the old man stage where it's like, wow, those Curry LeBron years were the peak of our NBA existence. We're going to be waiting for the next one, and things seem really fragmented right now. But yeah, a lot more respect for LeBron now. I do think the NBA is generally easier today than it was back then. The
Yeah.
sciences definitely help out with
Yep.
player health and everything. But yeah, I'm definitely, especially for my own personal reasons now, I want to see LeBron be successful because LeBron is my sunshine, my only sunshine. He makes me happy.
So to go back through today's top 5 from the bottom up, number 5, Cleveland and OKC. Number 4, the LA Lakers. Number 3, the Boston Celtics. Number 2, the Milwaukee Bucks. And number 1, the Denver Nuggets. Joe, your first today's top 5 had to be one of the top 5 experiences of your life.
Yeah, top 5 of today, definitely.
And this has been today's top 5.
Listen to the sound. I listen to the sound.